The Joe Rogan Experience.
What do these people do for a living?
A lot of the is livestock. So they raise their yak, dairy, meats that they'll transport over to the capital city. But they're just out there living the purest way of life. I remember walking through a part of Mongolia. Actually, I went over 8 days without seeing a single person. Over 8 days. I was like, wow, if you want to know what the world was like, I don't know, 1 million, 2 million years ago, yeah. Mongolia is the place that you'll get to experience a bit of that, Just wilderness. Just out there.
Did you encounter any wolves or anything there?
Wolves, they were the bigger wolves as well. They were grey wolves. I didn't, luckily. Saw footprints, but you couldn't see whether that was wild dogs or wolves. I had a wild dog approach my tent like 2, 3 in the morning. Just heard heavy breathing and footsteps outside my tent. I'm in the middle of the Gobi Desert alone. Hadn't seen a human in days. And I'm there in the middle of my tent, a knife in one hand, a torch in the other, shaking, adrenaline, thinking this is a person outside.
Oh my God.
I'm shouting and they're not replying. I unzipped it. It's like a wild dog. But it was fine. It wasn't aggressive. But yeah, it was just so... I remember my logistics manager, my Ulaanbaatar-based, my Mongolia-based logistics manager, I said to him, can you imagine how quiet, how silent it's going to be in the Gobi Desert? And he replied, he just said, there's no such thing as silence. So what do you mean there's no such thing as silence? They have like silence rooms, torture, panic room, silence room with the headphones and whatnot. And he was like, I'm not going to tell you, you'll get out there and if you've hit the right spot of the Gobi Desert, you'll know what I mean. And I did. I remember I was just, again, in the middle of the Gobi Desert, hadn't seen anyone in days. And there was no breeze, there was no flies, there was no people, there was just no noise pollution whatsoever. And I was just looking around, I could just hear this faint noise, almost like a high-pitched humming noise. Very faint though, and I thought it could be like air leaking from my water container, could be my trailer. So I walked a few hundred meters away from my trailer and I could still hear it. It took me 5 to 10 minutes to figure it out, that it was like I'm at such the point of silence now, it's so quiet, I can hear my own body functioning. And that's what he meant, that there's no such thing as silence, because when you're at the point of silence, you can finally hear your own body ticking over. Never heard it before, never heard it since.
What are you hearing?
Just the faintest humming noise, almost like coming from the inside, but you can't not hear it. As long as you're living, as long as you're breathing, you're hearing that noise. I went everywhere, and I was just like, yeah, nothing about it's my body, it's ticking over.
So, how long are you walking through the Gobi Desert hearing your body?
Oh no! When you're walking, you can't really hear. It's when you stop,
crunch.
and it's got to be no wind. A lot of the time, it was very breezy. Sometimes there were storms.
So you're essentially walking through a dead area, right?
Yeah.
It's lifeless.
Yeah.
How much water you have on you when you're doing this?
With that, so my container was 20 liters, 20 kilograms, but it was never always full.
That's a lot of weight to carry.
That's a lot of weight. Yeah, a hell of a lot of weight.
Plus, you have all the other stuff.
Yeah, that's why it mounted, really. I think the trailer on its own was 40 kilograms. Don't know what that is in pounds, 60, 70 pounds maybe, on an empty load, because it was mild steel. Just built in my family friend's back garden,
Really?
Yeah, just puncture-proof tyres, full rubber. So it was heavy, but it was robust. And then the water container, 20 litres, 20 kilograms. I needed at a maximum load. Yeah. So when I was, effectively, I went through the water when I was really suffering with the dehydration. So at that point, the trailer was a lot lighter. It was under 100 kilograms at that point, but I'm low on water,
Right.
I'm sort of rationing the last remaining dribbles up to where I make it to the community. So on maximum load, 120 kilograms. Water was the biggest issue, and always was the biggest issue. That's why the previous guy was evacuated on three occasions, which terrified me as well. He was a Navy soldier, desert explorer. I was just a scuba diver, Muay Thai, living on a beach in Thailand, So I did have my worries. I did stop planning Mongolia as well because of that. Started to doubt myself. But at the same time, I realised, just because no one's found a way to do something, it doesn't mean it can't be done.
What made you feel like Mongolia was the wildest place?
Probably because it was really close. Like, I'm living in Thailand. My initial idea was get a cheap bike, $10, cycle up to Mongolia, cycle across Mongolia and walk back the other way. Or cycle to the start point in the east and then walk to the west. And I thought, if I did that, I would have died. I wouldn't have made it. That was lack of preparation. So that's why I went back home, back to the UK for the right preparation, the right training. And again, as I say, now it's not like Vietnam, the cycle, when it was all very reckless. It was all meticulous planning, detailed planning. And Mongolia, for me, it just struck me as that. I was on the travel route for 2 years at this point, and I'd come across people, they say they plan to go here next, they plan to go there next, or they've come from Cambodia, Vietnam, but no one had ever said Mongolia really. So I was just fascinated. Home to the Altai Mountains, the Gobi Desert. You got your reindeer tribal community up north. You got your eagle hunters in the west. Your camels down south of the Gobi. It was just like, this country is fascinating. And from that point on, I was just like, I wonder. Maybe 100 miles, let's walk. Maybe 200. I was like, heck, why not go for the length? Wow. And then I started to look for people who had done it before. It wasn't for any record, it was just for the fascination. That's when I realised I couldn't find any evidence to suggest that anyone had completed the solo and unsupported walk. But I did find the guy who previously attempted, and he was a nice guy, he responded. I asked him what the dangers are. It's a big list. The grey wolves, the drunken nomadic drifters, the stagnant water, the dry wells. Drifters? They can sometimes be a problem, yeah. They'll drunk, they'll get on their hoes, they'll roam, and they're big. They're big, the Mongolians. Wrestling's their sport, so they're stocky. It's in their history as well, isn't it, with Genghis Khan, or Genghis Khan as we know him.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, they could be big an issue. And he just sent this huge list, and I was like, yeah, maybe I'll look for a different country. Maybe I'll walk across a European country or something.